and welcome to this week's Karma Cards. First off, I just want to point out that the Schumann is up again. It's the last couple of days. We've been going all the way up to 72. Today we were at 61. Today is the 14th of July. I had to think about it. So if you're feeling that, I noticed I was talking to some friends and everybody's feeling it differently. But the theme seems to be a type of detox is happening. So some of us are having a more physical detox, which is kind of what I'm experiencing. And some of us are having more of an emotional detox. And just to remind you, detoxes are good, right? It means the crap is getting cleared out of the field so that more of what we want can come in. But as we're experiencing it, it can feel really low, it can feel crummy, it can even make us feel like maybe somehow we've gone backwards, but it's not the case. So I just want to remind you of that in case you're also experiencing some symptoms too. Now, before I forget, because I'm in that mind space today where my mind is like jumping from thing to thing to thing, so I want to make sure I get this out there. This Friday, July 16th, I am hosting a pendulum board making session in my Patreon page. So if you want to join me, it's $10. It will be live. You will also get the recording. We're going to have fun meditating together, getting in the zone, making some beautiful art that we can use, and then we're going to play with our pendulums with the board. So if that sounds exciting to you, join me here at this link on Patreon. You can jump in just for this class, or you can become a Patreon member and get live classes, coloring pages, and other fun extras I throw into my Patreon group every month. And if that sounds great to you, I'd love to have you. So this week, the message I have from the team is sort of building on last week's Karma Cards, which was called Living Faith. So if you haven't watched that one, I definitely recommend checking out that episode because this episode sort of piggybacks off of that one. Today, the team wanted to talk about your power center of creation. What is it? Where does it live? And how does it work? And your power center of creation is your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind takes in every bit of data, even the bits of data you're not consciously taking in. So it was interesting. I can't remember the terminology. I was listening to someone use it. They were talking about like terabytes of information and gigabytes. Maybe gigabytes is less than terabytes. Maybe it's that. If your conscious mind, which is what's listening and processing right now, can take in gigabytes of information, your subconscious mind can take in terabytes of information. So, the amount of information the subconscious mind can receive at all times and is receiving at all times is staggering. We just can't fathom how much data we're taking in. So with all that, you'd think the subconscious mind is what's cooking up the plans and is on it. But it's really interesting because even though your subconscious mind is your power center, it has no direction. It is just taking in. That's what it does. It is observing and accepting all, right? And acceptance is, by the way, one of the highest forms of consciousness that we can get into is when we can accept everything. That's a 5D and above level of consciousness. We resist nothing. And that's what the subconscious mind does. So yay for our subconscious minds. However, it's almost like a car without a driver. Your subconscious mind, without something impressing or giving it instruction. So let's talk about who the two drivers are. We've got two main drivers, right? We have the conscious mind and the superconscious mind. We can also call this the ego and the higher self, whatever suits you. Our conscious mind is all about survival. That's its job. Its primary purpose is to keep you alive and safe however it can. So when it leaves its impression upon your subconscious mind, when it's driving the car of your subconscious mind, it's driving it directing it with, fear, lack, doubt, all the survival instincts you need to keep you safe. You got to be alert. You got to be afraid of things. You got to, right? You've got to notice when there's not enough, because when you run out, when you run out, obviously can't survive. So that's what's driving when you let the subconscious mind drive. When the superconscious mind is driving, or the higher self, this is the part of you that is the creator being. Your higher self is highly connected. I mean, you are God. You are source energy coming through a vessel. This is that center. When it's driving, this is how you begin to consciously and intentionally manifest the life you want. So we've got to be really clear about A, what's the power? Where's the power? And B, what am I letting drive this? Another way to think about this that also works, I like this metaphor too, is think about the subconscious mind being like a lump of clay, right? It is a lump of clay. It can become anything. So then it's about what we impress upon that clay. That's what we're going to get. So if you've got your two directors here, right? Either the conscious mind or the ego, impressing upon it ideas of fear, lack, worry, etc., then the outcome you're going to receive is going to be made from that mold. Whereas if you're letting your superconscious mind or your higher self be what impresses itself upon the subconscious mind, well, then the mold that you've just created is the mold that you desire. It's going to match your destiny. It's going to match what you want. It's going to represent your potential, right? So we want to think about that. What is impressing itself upon the subconscious mind? And the way that we do that is by getting mindful and noticing what's driving the car, what is impressing upon the clay here, and then getting really conscious about what we're choosing. Even if we realize we're choosing fear or lack or doubt, that's okay. As long as we got consciousness around it, we can then scrap that, roll out the dough, roll out the clay again, and impress upon it what we want. Now here's what solidifies the impression you've just made. So let's say we've impressed upon the subconscious mind what we want, and we've got this beautiful mold that we've made that's going to manifest into the desired outcome. In order for it to be glazed or fired or set, I mean, I'm not a potter, so I'm not really working with my strong suit of metaphors, but in order for that impression we made to take a solid shape, then we follow through with what I talked about last time, where you prepare to win. So once you've impressed your idea upon your subconscious mind, the next thing you want to do is take some sort of action that is in alignment with what you said you want. And it doesn't have to be some big thing. It doesn't have to be an outcome. It can be a very small thing. I'll give you an example. A client of mine wants to work within a company and it has been hired to work within a company and can claim the title he wants. And he has an idea of what that title is. But he was hesitant to claim it. Why? Because the old paradigm system that we come from tells you, well, you have to do X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all of it in order to have the title that you're going for, right? You have to jump through all of these hoops. Whereas in a new paradigm, or when you're in a situation where you're making something from scratch, you can be whatever you want to be. You just need to claim it and then stand behind it. So it was really interesting because he knew what he wanted, but he had hesitancy of claiming it because it's not the way, that he was told it works. When he got consciousness around that and recognized that he was holding himself in a pattern that it's not even the pattern that he wanted. Instead, he was just trying to follow along, and there was this weird guilt or shame about claiming who he wants to be. And he had to get conscious and aware of that and realize this is the impression that he's making, that he can't have what he wants. So he scrapped that thought and recognized that, no, I get to make who I want to be. And when he got himself in that place of this is who I want to be, he had to emotionally get behind it, right? Instead of feeling the guilt or the shame or embarrassed for jumping ahead, he had to recognize that it was a point of power to be able to claim who he wanted to be. And so the next step that this person took is he bought himself some business cards that have the title of the job that he wants. Because it was an opening, he was allowed to choose. All he had to do was get behind it mentally and emotionally and take action toward it. So now, like a full week later, I asked him about how he feels about that. And he feels really good. It feels really strong. He's grounding in that energy. And all it was a little simple action, just buying a couple business cards and claiming it was the action. That's what I want to get to. It was the claiming of the energy. So therefore, I want you to think about when you're going after what you want, what your dream are, and you're preparing, your dream is, and you're preparing to get it. How can you take an action to claim it, right? Maybe you need to buy a business card. Maybe you need to write it down on a piece of paper and stick it to your bathroom mirror. There's all sorts of small, concrete actions that you can take. When your subconscious mind feels this action click into place, that's firing the clay, right? That sets it in place. Now the subconscious mind fully accepts, yeah, this is what we're making and this is what we're doing. It's a done deal and it's set. So I hope that little tip helps you this week to more deeply go into what it is you're creating and how it gets created. Now let's do some karma cards. For those who are new to karma cards, let me quickly show you how this works. I have 3 decks here, the planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. And I've already asked my team, what is the message for this week? And I've got 2 sets of answers, one in red, which are action answers, and a set in blue, which are outcome answers. And the way that you play is by tuning into your own intuition and listening. Do you need action-related answers this week? Or are you looking for outcome-related answers? And of course, you can always choose both. While you're doing that, let me tell you the timing for this reading. This is for July 14th through July 21st. And the flavor of this reading. It's interesting. I'm talking about power with you. I'm talking about your power source. And who shows up but Pluto? And Pluto is the power planet. So that's interesting. We've got Pluto in Scorpio, which is the sign that Pluto rules. So this is about deep internal power. And finally, we have the 6th house again. We've had this, I think, last week too. So this is the health and service to others house. So for those who are choosing action, your spiritual action is to resurrect the extraordinary power of prayer as a full-time job. And this is really interesting because prayer is the asking to the universe. Resurrect the extraordinary power of prayer as a full-time job. It is your job to ask for what you want. Who are you asking? When I say the universe, I'm actually talking about that higher part of you. I am talking about your higher self, which is an incredible being whose magnitude we can barely fathom. I'm talking about the God source inside of you. That is who you're asking from, right? So that, and related back to what I was talking about, we can also call that the supraconscious mind. It's a job. Ask every day. Ask for everything you need. I'm always told we don't ask enough. We have this hesitancy to ask because we don't want to be selfish. And yet, this was the guidance system we were given. It's kind of like not using your GPS when you're lost. It's there. It's waiting to be used. So again, use your power of prayer, your ability to ask as if it's your full-time job. Mental action. Get to the heart of the highest and lowest aspects of serving. Again, I mean, this feels like it's saying, so we just talked about asking like it's your, pray and ask like it's your full-time job. And then the energy can come up of feeling guilt for asking so much. Highest and lowest aspects of serving. I would say like guilt, shame, lack. These are all the lowest aspects of serving, because even a service to others being must include themselves when it comes to service, right? If you exclude yourself in service, you are not in service to others, because it encompasses all, right? So we want to look for, am I okay with serving others and I'm not okay with serving myself? Now, this is a theme that comes up often, and I feel like it comes up especially for those of you who recognize that you're a healer of some sort. We get thrown by this one a lot because we see so much suffering in the world, and we see that we may have something that others don't, and our heart sort of breaks for that. And then we turn around and ask for more and feel guilt for that, right? So we have this very broken way of dealing with it, where what we want to do is get it clear in our head that when we fill our cup, we have more to give, right? Imagine you have a cup for water, and someone comes along and says, I'm so thirsty, can I have a sip from your cup? But you have not filled it up. Can you help them? No. It's just like on the airplane. If the oxygen masks come down, but you don't put yours on, you can't help anybody else. So it's, again, asking us to clear any misconceptions, any negative emotions around taking care of ourselves at this time. Physical action, do or die. You must control the situation and do it a little at a time. Okay, so this do or die, the drama, if you will, comes from the Scorpio, and the control issue, that's also very Plutonian. When we control the situation, part of this is saying like, okay, you can't be the creator and the victim at the same time. You got to choose which one you're going to be. So if you constantly find yourself in a place where it always feels like the world is doing stuff to you, it's always a situation where somebody has done something or taken something away, right? That puts us in that victim mentality where we can't actually create change, because you get to be what you choose to be. Universe, your subconscious mind, it's fully supporting you. Even in our bad decisions, we are fully supported. So when we choose victim mentality where it's somebody else's fault, right? We get to be that, and we get to have all the the benefits. I don't really look at being a victim like a benefit, but there's benefits, right? We get to evade responsibility. It's somebody else's fault, not ours. So I guess that's a benefit. But it's a weak position to be in, and we do not get to utilize our power source. Whereas if we're taking full responsibility as a creator being, that everything I experience, I have created. This one really doesn't, people who are enmeshed in that victim mentality do not like to hear that, right? That just goes up against everything that the victim mindset tells us. And yet, when you start taking it on, when you're like, I've created this, I don't know how I attracted this, I'm going to dig in there, right? Of course it sucks and it hurts and it's uncomfortable, but it's also very powerful because it's a place that we can create deep change from, deep change for ourselves, and yes, deep change for the world. Let's look at outcomes for Pluto in Scorpio in the 6th house of health and service. The spiritual outcome at this time is the need for control of purification to resurrect service to others. So the need for control of purification, I feel like this is us getting that awareness. Remember what I said earlier, that when you're letting the conscious mind, when we're letting old negative programming or patterns impress upon our subconscious mind, In order to cancel that creation, we've got to get in there and look at it. We've got to accept it. Oh my gosh, look what I was creating. I created that from a place of smallness and lack. Wow. That's the first step. That's what this is, the need for control of purification. The awareness of how we operate grants us the power of purification. We can now wipe the slate. Nope, not creating that. I'm not going to create that. I see I was trying to, and maybe that's what I've been playing out. But now I want to create this. And I'm doing it very intentionally now. So again, awareness creates purification. And when we have that, when we start creating really intentionally, and we start loving on our life and loving on our power, well, then we are a mighty servant to source, to the universe, and to others. Because a person with power can create powerful change. Mental outcome at this time, an obsession with the secrets of what is good for us. I feel like that's pretty straightforward. Pluto is an intense planet to pull, so what they're telling us is at this time, we are on some level considering power, right? We're considering power, we're looking at how it works. Maybe for some, it's the first time to embrace it or to be aware of it. And with this consideration comes this deep, this deep desire to know how this works. And that's what this Karma Cards was about today. Kind of give you a head start to think about how all this is working and how you can start to pick the driver for your car that suits you the best. Physical outcome at this time, a power struggle resulting from the power of your work. Yes, okay, so one caveat when we're changing beliefs, patterns of behavior, even perspectives, is that the resistance is strong because we're used to a certain way of thinking. If we've found ourselves in a victim mentality around a certain subject and it's brought to our attention that, hey, actually, you've got some creative control in this and possibly some responsibility, well, the first thing that's going to happen is probably triggering feelings, right? I'm angry at this being brought to my attention. I'm angry that it's on my plate. You're telling me that I've been suffering this whole time and I've been suffering at my hands. How dare you? Right? That comes up. It's a natural kind of defense mechanism because part of what's playing out is what already has been created and has been established. And remember, what we've created and established has become neural pathways in our brain. So as we build the new tracks in the mind, of the new thoughts, the new way of being, remember the old tracks are still there. They don't actually fall apart until the new tracks are the dominant tracks. Okay, so it's like two train lines running, and one's running to Horribleville and the other's running to Pleasantville, right? But if you've had a train that's default running to Horribleville the whole time, and as soon as you build the new train track, well, the train is still running on that. You have to consciously move the train to the new track. And as soon as you do, you'll have some better experiences and it'll feel good. But guess what? As soon as you go unconscious, boop, the train goes back over to what it knows. And it's going to take several moves before this track starts to deteriorate, get worn down until the brain recognizes, we're not using that track anymore. Got it. Now we put the train on the new track. And that's why consistency is so important. So be so gentle with yourself as you recognize the power leaks you may have created, right? And give that version of yourself that created anything you don't want a break because they didn't know better. You do now, right? With that, sending you so much love. Have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so that you know the next time I release a new video. Until then, stay magical.